Praise, honor, glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone and the sincere shalom to the icon that's out there pushing the sincerity and the truth and the sound doctrine. So this is a short that I ran across a little earlier, and I decided to do a quick little video off of it. So this is not only gas is high, is running out faster too, and everybody's noticed it. Everybody's noticed it. It's been sayings across the internet and stuff like that. So amongst all this stuff that's happening with the war and the airport chaos now, the high gas prices, the high food prices, the high everything, rationing is getting ready to be a thing as far as gas, much like during COVID, to get the grocery stores was rationing and putting restrictions on how much food, mainly chicken, mainly like meat, that you can get out of the stores because they were running short. And it's getting ready to be the same thing with the energy and the gas and all this stuff, man. So, through the spirit of power, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man, now is the high time to wake out of sleep, as the book of Romans say. All right. But like I said, amongst all this stuff, happening, I thought of this scripture here. All right. Revelation 18. All right. And like I said, it's going to be a really quick video. So this is the book of Revelation 18. And let's see here. Let's start at verse 3. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath, of her fornications, and of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." And one of the biggest ways is and one of the biggest delicacies that they got is the so-called Black, Latino, Native American people. All right, they all have done this with it, even before Esau, Edom, right? Like those Arabs that you people like, that our people like going to be Muslims. They were doing it before Esau, Edom, as far as the hangings and and all this stuff that the schools used to teach about Esau doing this, that, and the other. Well, what they don't teach is before them, those so-called Arabs were doing it too. They were doing it before Esau, Edom. All right. Anyway, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not her plagues. For her sins have reached heaven, it's like unto heaven. And God, Yahawah, have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double it to her, double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled to her double." All right. Right. So what I did was I took the extra time to look at this scripture right here. All right. Revelation 18:6. And it's not really deep, like, at all, you know what I mean? But it struck me when you see this: reward her even as she rewarded you, and double it to her, double according to her works. All right. This sounds like a demand. This sounds like somebody's being demanded to do it. Now, I'm gonna get this in another translation. All right. And we're specifically focusing on this scripture today, as far as Revelation 18, and we're going to stop at 8. But just breaking it down just a little more. All right. Now this is in the NLT. All right. This is verse 6 in the NLT version. "Do to her as she has done to others, double her penalty for all her evil deeds." All right. "She brewed a cup of terror for others, so brew twice as much for her." Again, this sounds like somebody's being demanded. Again, that's how you did. So That's the hell that's get ready to come upon this place. See, and this is where you hear us specifically at Great Millstone say, the further this place goes on, um, the harder the place is going to crash. All right, because more and more, the longer this place goes on, more laws, more BS comes out, something, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. But that's also doubling her penalty as well. All right, that's also doubling the punishment as well. All right, so that's pretty much what this is going into right here, because you see here, she glorified herself and lived in luxury. Right, so match it now with torment and sorrow. Right, that scripture that says, and slightly paraphrasing, "Revenge is mine, saith the Lord." All right, you have this saying out there, you're not supposed to repay evil with evil. Well, here we go. That, because when we sit up there and we say that Esau has to be paid back for what he's done, we've had several people come up to us and say, well, you ain't supposed to repay evil with evil. It's not evil. It's not repaying evil with evil. All right. Now, if we said that we're gonna castrate them and stuff like that, like they did to us, then yeah, that'll be considered repaying evil with evil. But we're not worried about all that castration stuff. But they are gonna feel it way harder than we felt it. All right, their punishment is going to be way harder than ours. That is a promise from the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. All right, but all that sleeping with little boys and stuff like that, no, that will be repaying evil with evil. All right, but overthrowing somebody, taking somebody out of a wicked person out of power by violence is not evil. It's not repaying evil for evil. You got people out there say, well, violence isn't the answer. Well, the Lord is a man of war. All right, violence pretty much is always the answer, but you have righteous violence and you have unrighteous violence. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you have a defenseless village being attacked by an army. Well, and for no reason, just plundering them pretty much, and just taking in women and doing whatever, man. Doing whatever to them. The men, doing stuff to the men, doing stuff to the children and stuff like that. But here comes another army that wants to defend the village, but they have to get violent with the villains pretty much. So yeah, violence pretty much is always the well, not always, but for the most part, depending on the situation, yes, it is the answer. In order for peace to come on this earth, violence is most definitely the answer. It has to be. Violence is the only way this devil is getting out of power, man. Violence is the only way we're coming back. You know what I mean? And violence is the only way that's going to happen. You have righteous violence and you have unrighteous violence. All right? And that's another play on words, that violent word. That's another play on words, man. You know what I mean? You got to really, really, really look into these words and get the understanding of what these words are talking about. Oh, you're too violent. You're too violent. Well, it depends on why that person is violent. You know what I mean? Is he trying to save somebody? Is he trying to restore peace to something? Like, you know what I mean? Why are they so violent? All right. So again, this is a demand. All right. Because Yahawashi isn't going to be alone. All right. He's talking about the man to the angels. When Yahawashi and the angels come back and his men, or Yahawashi and his army comes, this is a demand to them. Right? Let me read this again. Do to her as she has done to others. Double her penalty for all her evil deeds. She brewed a cup. Let's get an NLT. Maybe get an NLT. I think that's what I was just saying. Yeah. Let's get an NIV. Right, here we go. Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double what she has done. Pour her a double portion from her own cup. There we go. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In her heart, she boasts, I sit enthroned as a queen. I am not not a widow. I will never mourn. It says, I will never mourn. That is America's, that's always been, and not just America, right? You have the Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, the Grecian, right? The Roman, especially the Roman Empire, right? And now here we are. But not just them either. China think they got next. Russia think they got next, especially Russia. You know what I mean? And all of these countries where they have one single mind, they have one thing that is in common. I'm not going to know any grief. I'm not touched, and I can't be touched. Right? That is one thing that all these nations that are in charge right now have in common. And that is exactly what brings on wars. Well, one of the things that bring on wars. All right. We had a guy that's currently in the military last week, said that they want power. Because why? Because everybody think these nations think they're untouchable. These countries, these armies think they are so untouchable. That is their mindset. I will never mourn. Right? So let's go back to KJV, just to get that out of the way. All right. Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, who judge of her. Now, one last thing. I looked into this word day, all right? And again, when I clicked on the definition, I was like, well, that's typical English, right? So I looked into this word day, right? And you see hey Mura or hey Mura or Hamara, right? And look at all these definitions. Just for the word day, you would think, well, it's just sunrise to sundown, the average day, right? So most of these are, but in different ways, right? But you can see the very last one is use time in general, the days of his life, right? Exactly. So that's the more simple one. It says in the daytime, right? So day would usually be 24 hours, all right? And in today's society, it would be 12 a.m. or 12, pretty much 12 to 12, right? Then 12 a.m. would be the next day, right? So that would be like night and day, because not, let's say 9 p.m., 9 o'clock at night, you are still within that day. Well, this one here just says in the daytime. So at night, day ends. All right. Up here, verse 1, in the day used of the natural day or the interval between sunrise and sunset. There we go. As distinguished from and contrasted with the night, right? So you have like for example, you have 3 days, 3 days, 3 nights, or whatever, right? So they would separate day and night. Well, today's society, like today is Friday, 10 o'clock at night, I'm still going to be within that quote unquote day, because today is Friday. Although you might hear Friday night, but you are still within that day. Like if you work night shift and your shift starts at 11 o'clock at night, right? Somebody would ask, well, what is today? They won't ask you what's tonight, right? And they say, what's today? You'll say, well, it's Friday. But within the next hour, it'd be 12, which it really should be the next day is when you see that sunrise. Not no damn 12 o'clock at night. That's what I say, 12 o'clock at night, because it's still night, you know. But anyway, that's besides the point. The getting to the point of, so you see here the definition 2. I'm right here, right up on top. The day is regarded as the time for abstaining from indulgence, vice, crime, because acts of the sort are perpetuated at night and in darkness. So that's one. That's one other one. Of the civil day of the space of 24 hours, thus including the night. That's what I was just talking about, right? So that is more like the American way, all right? Now, as far as this one, now when you say in Revelation 18:8, this is the one that you're looking for, all right? And I've done a little more, just a tad bit more research, just a little bit, just to confirm this, all right? Which we know, but, just to show you as for edification, all right? Now, when it says in one day, right, plagues, death, mourning, and stuff like that in one day, it's not talking about 24 hours. This is part of understanding the Bible's language, where it came from, right? The time that it was written. And this is where it comes, this is where interpretations come in. This is where prophets come in to break things down. All right. So I have no idea why my phone keeps doing that. It just blinked out for a second. Anyway, Eastern usage of this term differs from our Western usage. There we go. Any part of a day is counted as it says any part of a day is counted as a whole day. Hence the expression 3 days and three nights, right? Does not mean literally 3 whole days, but at least 1 whole day plus part of 2 other days. All right. So that 3 whole days, that 3 days, 3 nights. That's why, and it makes sense why it separated the 2. Why didn't it just say 3 days, right? And you could say, well, yeah, because it's 3 days, 3 nights, right? No. So what I did was just to break it down a little bit. I typed this in Chat GPT a little bit, right? Because I copied Revelation 18:8 and explained this a little further, and I copied and pasted the definition. Now, just to break it down a little bit, where did I see it? Right. So any part of a day is counted as a full day. All right. When they were writing the Bible, all right, even a few hours could be called a day. Right. So you see here, so instead of requiring 24 hours, they counted the starting day, the ending day, and anything in between, pretty much. And what the AI did was broke it down just a bit more. Friday afternoon, 1 day, just the afternoon. Saturday, day 2. Sunday morning, but not the afternoon. Day 3. Even though you're still within that day, but this is Eastern usage in biblical times. All right. So this is a really important. It is really important to really understand the language of the Bible. All right. And it says why this matters for Revelation 18:8. Right. It says her plagues will come in 1 day. Using this Eastern way of speaking, 1 day doesn't necessarily mean exactly 24 hours. A short, sudden period of time. This connects with all the other scriptures that says suddenly, sudden destruction. The day is going to come like a thief in the night. That's another one. The day of the Lord comes like a thief in the night. Very, very sudden, very unexpected. All right. A single decisive moment or event, right? Something happening quickly and all at once. We saw a little bit of that with COVID. We just saw a little bit of that with COVID. You saw a little bit of that. I wasn't alive during 9/11, but you saw a little bit of that during 9/11. It's like during 9/11. All right. It happened so suddenly. But all of that plane crash counted pretty much. You could count that part as a full day. All right. So it broke it down just a little more. It says, so what the definition is really saying, is the Blue Letter Bible note is warning you not to read the text too rigidly, right? It says biblical days can be flexible expressions of time. This also goes back to you'll have tribulation 10 days, right? So if you really think about it, 10 days, your tribulation might be a few hours in a day, broken up in maybe 9 other days, maybe. All right. Or more or less. This is what we say. This is why we say it could be more or less. You can't look at a day, and within the scriptures, you can't look at a day not all the time. You can't look at a day as 24 hours. Pretty much at all. Every time it says a day, right? You can't look at it as 24 hours when you read the scriptures. Can't do it. All right. It says the focus is often on certainty and immediacy. All right, not exact duration. There we go. So, the big picture. So, in this context, day in Revelation 18:8 likely emphasis, sudden destruction, rapid destruction, not necessarily a literal 24-hour window. There we go. All right. So I just wanted to break that down just a little more, because we always say that we don't it's when we say it's a day, we always say it's a certain period of time, but I never really went into it like that. So I just wanted to break that down just a little more. Let's get one last scripture. I know I said this video was going to be a little short, but when you go into them words, man, the video is going to be how long it's going to be, right? Let's see here. Yep. Revelation. So like in Mark 13:33, take ye heed, watch and pray, for ye know not when the time is. Right. So take ye heed, watch and pray, for ye know not when the time is. Right. There we go. We don't know the exact day. All right. The exact time. But we do know it's close. So we have to watch and pray, because you don't know when. All right. And you want salvation, because this place is going to be sudden. It's going to be very, very quick. That's why I said in one day, because it's going to be very, very sudden. Right? It could be part of a day. See, that's how quick things happen. And again, it was just emphasizing sudden destruction, as the AI said. It was just emphasizing sudden destruction. That's all it was doing. All right? How quick it can happen. The day of the Lord comes like a thief in the night. Very unexpected, very quick. You don't expect it. Right? Anyway, giving all praise, honor, glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, SHABBAH, SHEMA, KAKWADASH, Shalom.